So let me know if this is you. You go to start to write a song, and I don't know, maybe you start with jamming out some drums on your push 2. Maybe you start with trying to get some cool little hook or 808 pattern. You're a music producer and you want to start writing a song, but you start writing that song and it just goes nowhere. Or you can't get a verse chorus, you can't get a hook, you can't just things. The core of the song isn't there. Like, it's produced and it's a song and it's mastered, but it just doesn't feel anything, if you know what I mean. So in this video, I'm going to help you unlock your kind of songwriting skill set. So let's talk about it. When you turn all that crap into gold, it's going to sound like really good gold. Hey there, fellow music creators. Andrew Southworth, GenereStudios.com, here to teach you how to make better music and help you achieve your musical goals. So as I mentioned in the intro, this video is all about teaching you, the music producer, how to become a better songwriter. And at first, I'm going to make these two basic ideas very black and white, because it makes it easy for you to understand. And the two rules are: first, your song needs to have a great chord progression, or it needs to have a great hook. Right from the beginning, before you do anything else, you need to have either a great chord progression or a great melodic hook. And number two, after you get number one, you're going to start sketching out your percussive elements. And, all songwriting isn't done in this way, but it's a great way for you to start from nothing and build up a base that is great before you spend all that effort trying to produce your song. So maybe you can crank out 10 songs and maybe half them or more, maybe 90% of them sound like crap. This will help you get to that point to deciding if it sounds like crap before you spend 90% of your effort producing that song. So this is going to save you a ton of time, and it's going to make your music better, I promise. So tip number one, what do I mean by having a great chord progression? So whatever instrument you play, whether that's guitar or keyboard, or maybe you play nothing and you're just going to put it in the MIDI roll and program some chords in. And whatever it is, you just need to have a great chord progression. And that can come from a few sources of inspiration. I'm going to use this guitar here as an example. I might not be able to hear it too well, but that's not really the point. So the idea is that you're going to start just strumming or playing or programming in some random chords. Doesn't matter if it's a boring old chord progression that a million songs have done before, a million songs have done them before, and a million more songs will do them again. And you know what? There'll be great songs produced using those chord progressions. So it's fine if they're typical, it's great if they're not, but just make sure that it sounds great. I'm going to show you an example on the computer in a sec, but I want to just iron out these ideas just face to face so you understand it. So you're just going to jam in some chords, make your first one exploring this just with 3 or 4 chords. Any order, any key, whatever. Just get a nice chord progression, 4, 8-bar loop, whatever it is. Make sure it sounds good, just by itself. Nothing else. Put a boring keyboard sound on it. If it sounds good in that, it's going to sound good. It's going to sound way better with anything else. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting. You don't necessarily have to have a hook at this moment, but I'm going to recommend that you just make a bunch of loops, like kind of sketch out a song, intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, chorus. Just typical song progression order system, whatever. And just start, like, pick a section. Pick, like, the verse and just start, while it's playing, start clicking some notes on your keyboard or playing some notes on the guitar to try to just make a little simple melody over it that sounds good. Again, we're not going for any effects. We're not going for any great sound design. We're just focusing on we have a good chord progression. And we're going to put a good melody on top of it. That's it. Don't focus on anything else. So at this point, before you go on to the percussion, you should have a song sketched out. Intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. And you have some melodic ideas put over it. And just structure it out as a full song. You obviously don't know what's going to stick to that. It's fine. You can change it later. Just pick it and do it. And now we're going to go on to step number two. And we're going to start adding drums. So I want you to just imagine, you can feel free to listen to some songs that you love, but you're going to notice that there's some general trends where, like, the chorus has obviously, like, the loudest, most epic drums of the entire song. And we're not focusing on production. We're just focusing on the actual patterns that you do. So just loop your chorus and just come up with a cool groove, finger drum it, program it in, get a real drum kit, hire a drummer, whatever. Just get it in there. Don't focus on sound design. Pick boring sounds or whatever you have open, and just get something for the chorus. And then what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the verse. But when you get to the verse, again, don't focus on any sounds, but I want you to just strip that back or make it sound different. If your chorus had a lot of loud ringing out cymbals, make your chorus quieter, and have some hi-hats. Again, we're just going for kind of songwriting tropes at this moment. We're using a typical song progression. We're starting with just chords and melodies, and you're just going to follow its typical, like, quieter drum part in the verse with closed off cymbals, hi-hats, and loud cymbals in the chorus, and that's all you're doing. So just get that down and make sure it all sounds great. So at this point, you have a chord progression, you have melodic lines in places that make sense, you have a structure, you have drums. If your song sounds great now, it's going to sound phenomenal when you go and actually do all the production elements. And this is because you wrote a great song with crap. So when you turn all that crap into gold, it's going to sound like really good gold. So, if at the point that you started your song, you started picking up these great serum presets and picking up the best possible drum sounds you could get, getting all this like great equipment in, you're going to be lied to by the sound quality of whatever instrument you're using, because you're going to be using these great instruments. Everything's going to sound great. You could hold one note for 5 minutes and put some great sounds on it, and it can sound great. But the song will be crap. And a lot of people don't realize that, because we all have access to these great tools, whereas in the past you didn't. You just had like a guitar or piano or whatever. So if at this moment your song sounds like crap, that's fine. You can throw it away and you can do this whole thing again. But I want you to make sure that you actually do this until you get a song that you're happy with just bare bones chord progression, bare bones melody, and bare bone drums with no fancy production. If, however, on your first try doing this, you have a song that sounds great, congratulations. Now what you can do is put all that production knowledge that you've spent years or months or days, however long you've been doing this, to the test. Now you're going to actually go and get that chord progression and decide, am I going to use a piano here? Am I going to use a guitar here? Am I going to use a synthesizer here? What sound design am I going to do? You're going to go to your melodic lines and decide, what synths am I going to do? Am I going to do all these layers? You might add a pad that complements the chord progression, but also has some of the melodic lines in it. You're going to go to your drums. You're going to go to your drum library, and you're going to make all your drums sound fantastic. You're going to add a sub layer. You might have the sub only kick in the chorus to be extra loud. If you have a hip hop thing, you might have your 808s that go along with the whole song, and these cool kind of grooves and patterns and sidechain compression and all the cool stuff that we love to talk about when we don't talk about songwriting. All right, so at this point, I'm going to show you an example of an unfinished song I have on my computer that I follow this exact same process with, just like I do for most of my other songs. There are different ways to write songs, but this one was done the exact way I just showed you. And the way I did it was that I started with a piano. Basically, I was about to go to bed, and I just heard a little melodic line in my head. That's all it was. It didn't even have the chord. So all I did is I just went to my keyboard and tried to guess and find it. And then I just picked some chords and played around with it. So bam. Interesting melodic line and chord progression. And guess what? That chord progression goes through the entire song. And the only thing I did is I switch up the melody in some parts. So there's an alternative melody that happens in the chorus and some of the pre-chorus parts. And notice that it's very simple. It's just a 3-chord progression, some little notes. The notes are just done by ear. Chord progression done by ear. And so now I have a bass that by bass I mean B-A-S-E, that I just patterned throughout my song. I made like an intro, verse, chorus, pre-chorus, all that stuff. And I had a structure. So next I moved on to the drums. And this I used to define the rhythm and the force and the vibe of the song. So for the verse section, I added this cool kind of breakbeat type of thing on acoustic drums, which made the part, if I solo both of these tracks here, this. But eventually it goes to a pre-chorus that builds into a chorus, and I won't show you the whole thing, but it goes to this. So it's, here I have my final like sound effects on, but just with a piano and a drum set, the song has a very defined verse, it has a very defined chorus, it has a build-up, it sounds like a chorus, and it doesn't have any of the risers, it doesn't have the downlifters, it doesn't have the impact sound effects, it doesn't have a bass, it doesn't have a sub, and it sounds great, at least to me. And if you like your music and you think it sounds great, your opinion matters. So I love this. You might not like it, it might be not your thing, but either way, the point is the same. it sounds close to my final vision without having any production behind it whatsoever. And if I hated it at this point, I could abandon it, restart over, and save myself 90% of my production time, mixing time, mastering time. Now, once I had that, I could go in and start adding these cool sound effects. Little thing in the background. Add this little like other melodic line that goes on top. Really get detailed into the sound design. I could go in and I could start adding in like my risers and subs to go into the chorus. And so like now the chorus like really sounds like a chorus. It just like pops, you know? And that's because it popped before it had any of this. You could play this song with just a piano, a guy and a djembe, and when I have vocals, a singer, and that could just be two people. So it's songwriting at its purest, and everyone does this to some extent. This is why you hear so many clips of like Lady Gaga and a piano playing songs, because a lot of people just write their songs like this, and then they go and they turn it into these epic productions, and they hire all these people, but they don't do that until the song is great. So you have a homework assignment. You're going to go and you're going to try all this out, and you're going to write awesome song. And then after you're doing that, you're going to check out this video right here on defining your musical brand or identity. And that's going to help you actually get that song that you write and turn into something that sounds like you every song again. So I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you like this video. I upload videos every single Tuesday and Friday. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.